Let's just jump right in with a single, powerful idea that might change how you think about being nice. What if that constant, overwhelming drive to satisfy others isn't actually about kindness at all? What if it's really a high-effort survival strategy? Just let that sink in for a second. That need to keep the peace, to say yes when every fiber of your being is screaming no. What if that's not just a personality quirk, but a full-blown survival mechanism? In this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly how this automatic performance is costing you your time, your energy, and maybe most importantly, your very sense of who you are. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the pleaser's paradox, why being so kind leaves you feeling so drained. Then we'll dig into the hidden costs and the automatic survival loop that keeps you stuck. We'll explore something called the depletion trap that just wipes out your willpower. And then we get to the good stuff, practical tools to finally reclaim your no and redefine what it means to survive and thrive. So let's dive right into this core conflict, the pleaser's paradox. On the outside, everything you're doing looks like kindness, right? You're helpful, you're agreeable, but on the inside, the feeling is just complete exhaustion and maybe even a little resentment. And the reason for that gap is actually pretty simple. It's not really a choice you're making. It's a compulsion. This is the absolute key we have to get straight from the beginning. We are not talking about genuine generosity that you give freely. We're talking about a defense mechanism, one that's super sophisticated and has been running in the background for years. Its one and only job is to manage a terrifying, primal fear, the fear of being rejected, of being left behind. It's a strategy where you don't just prefer social harmony, you prioritize it above all else, especially your own needs. Okay. So let's get real about what happens when you run this survival program day in and day out. This isn't just some abstract theory. It has a real, tangible cost in your daily life. And for a lot of you, this is going to sound very, very familiar. I just want to say those feelings are real and the costs are huge. This right here, this is the price tag for constant people-pleasing. That chronic resentment that's always simmering just under the surface because your needs are always last on the list. The deep emotional exhaustion from the sheer work it takes to hide how you really feel, that profound loss of self, where you might not even know what you want anymore, and that awful nagging feeling that you're being a fake, which, surprise, surprise, leads straight to burnout. These aren't character flaws, okay? They're the predictable results of a system stuck in overdrive. So why? Why does the thought of someone being upset with you feel like the end of the world? Well, the neuroscience is pretty clear. To your brain, it is a catastrophe. Research shows that social rejection, that fear of being kicked out of the group, it literally lights up the exact same part of your brain as physical pain. That's the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, or dACC. So when you're terrified of saying no, what you're feeling is your brain's ancient alarm system screaming that you are in real physical danger. It feels that real because to your brain, it is. So if the fear is that bad, how does the brain cope? Well, it builds a system, an automated system. And listen, this isn't just some bad habit you can think your way out of. We're talking about a powerful, self-reinforcing loop in your brain that runs on pure autopilot, usually before you're even consciously aware of it. Let's pull back the curtain and see exactly how this machine works. The technical name for this program is the Fawn Response. You've probably heard of fight, flight, or freeze, right? Well, think of this as the fourth F. It's a defense mechanism where you immediately engage in active appeasement. And it's not passive at all. It's an incredibly high-effort strategy. It's about instantly becoming as helpful, agreeable, and compliant as you possibly can to shut down a perceived social threat before it even gets off the ground. Now, this loop unfolds in 4 lightning-fast stages. First, there's a threat cue. And this can be something as small as your boss asking you to stay late, or even just a funny look from someone. Second, that social pain alarm in your brain starts blaring. Third, to make that horrible feeling stop, you instantly launch the Fawn response. You say yes, you agree, you appease. And fourth, and this is the most important part, you feel relief. The pain goes away, and that relief locks in the behavior, teaching your brain that compliance is the way to stay safe. Let's just park on this for a second, because this is the engine that drives the whole cycle. Negative reinforcement is one of the most powerful ways we learn. By saying yes, you get an immediate reward. That intense, terrifying social pain stops. That wave of relief is so potent, it basically tells your brain, hey, this works. Complying is the fastest way to feel safe. And so the next time a threat cue pops up, your brain knows exactly which button to press, making the loop stronger, faster, and more automatic every single time. This brings us to a really important question. If you know this is happening, why is it so ridiculously hard to stop?
Why does your plan to set a boundary just crumble into dust, especially at the end of a long day? Well, the answer is that the fawn response has a massive cognitive cost. It literally drains the battery you need to say no.
The software running this whole show is what psychologists call an internal working model. Just think of it as a core belief, usually installed in your brain when you were very young, about how the world works. And for a people pleaser, that core belief is this: my worth is not a given. It's conditional. It depends on how useful I am to other people. This one belief sets the entire stage for everything else. So, how does that play out in your brain? Well, let's look at your prefrontal cortex, or PFC. This is the sophisticated, modern part of your brain. It's your inner CEO. Its job is supposed to be things like long-term planning, controlling impulses, and setting boundaries. But when the fawn response is in charge, your PFC gets hijacked. Instead of being the company's CEO, it gets demoted to a full-time hyper-vigilance security guard. All its energy is spent scanning for threats, reading faces, and trying to predict and prevent anyone else's disappointment. And here's the result. This constant state of high alert, of scanning for threats and masking your true emotions, it burns a ton of mental energy. This leads to a state called ego depletion. It's a real thing, a measurable drop in your resources for self-control. So here's the bottom line. By the time someone asks you for a big favor at 5 p.m., your PFC, the very part of your brain you need to say no, is completely out of gas. You literally don't have the willpower left. You just default to the easiest, most practiced path. You say yes. Okay, so we've mapped out the problem, we get the science, we see the trap. Now, let's make a hard pivot. Let's talk about how we get out. This next part is all about actionable, practical tools you can use to consciously interrupt this automatic loop and start retraining your nervous system. This is where the real work starts, and believe me, it is absolutely possible. You can't just try to change a behavior. You have to update a core survival program. I mean, this loop, as draining as it is, has served a purpose, right? It's kept you feeling safe for a long, long time. So we can't just rip it out. We have to gently and systematically teach the brain a new and better way to find that same feeling of safety. So here it is, a simple 3-step plan for that retraining. First, you're going to map out your own personal compliance script so you know what your triggers are. Second, and this is the big one, you're going to implement a mandatory delay. And third, you'll start to practice something called micro-dissent. Let's break those down. Honestly, the single most powerful thing you can do to break this cycle is to create space. The fawn response is so powerful because it's instantaneous. It fires before your rational brain even has a chance to boot up. By forcing a mandatory delay, you create a pause. You stop the automatic reaction, and you give your prefrontal cortex, your inner CEO, time to come back online, look at the situation clearly, and make a choice that actually serves you, not just your fear. And this is so important. You need a pre-planned script ready to go. Don't try to invent it in the moment. Just have a go-to phrase. Let me check my calendar and get back to you. Or, I need to look at a few things, I'll let you know. Or even, let me think on that and I'll get back to you tomorrow. This phrase isn't a no. It's a circuit breaker. It buys you the time you need for the fear to calm down and for your logic to kick back in. Okay, so once you've created that pause, you need to start giving your brain some new evidence. See, your brain believes conflict is a catastrophe because it has no data that says otherwise. Micro-dissent is how you give it that new data. We're talking tiny, low-stakes acts of just stating what you want. Actually, I'd rather get Italian tonight. Hey, can we watch this movie instead? Every time you do this and the world doesn't end, every time the other person just goes, oh, okay, you're feeding your brain a corrective experience. You are slowly and safely proving that a little disagreement is totally survivable. And this all brings us to our final and honestly most important section. Let's pull all these ideas together and forge a new, much more powerful understanding of what a boundary really is. Because we need to stop seeing it as an act of selfishness and start seeing it as something far more vital. I want you to really let this one land. Just think for a minute about the sheer amount of energy you spend trying to manage everyone else's moods, anticipating their needs, making sure they're all comfortable. That incredible effort. It's not a measure of your kindness. It's a direct, precise measure of how terrified you are of what might happen if you stopped. It's the energy of fear. So all this time, your kindness, your hypercompliance, it's been a shield. A shield to protect you from that terror. But a shield is heavy, and if you're always hiding behind it, you never build your own strength.
The real paradigm shift here is realizing that true, lasting stability doesn't come from perfectly avoiding every conflict. It comes from building an internal core that's strong enough to handle it. And that core is built, brick by brick, with boundaries.
And that is the ultimate takeaway. Your boundaries are not selfish, they're not mean, they are not an attack, they are a declaration of your own self-worth. They are the absolute non-negotiable requirement for your own psychological survival, and they are what will finally allow you to live a life guided by your authentic self, instead of one run by fear.